Marco Reus. Daniel Malen! Wonderful!
Fantastic from Reus. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham! Absolutely magnificent.
Reina, brilliant from the American. Just like that.
Graceful. Salihut turn for Anthony Modeste.
To carve out a bit of space for himself. Brandt, and what a chance! It's finished by Moukoko! This game turned on its head. Youssoufa Moukoko!
Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jake, joined as always by Carver. How are you doing, man? How's it going?
I'm doing well. Back with the new intro. I love how it sounds. Thank you for putting that together. It's hype. It's hype.
I've been hanging on to that Holland one for a little too long, and now that we're going to get into it, but we got Manchester City coming up next week. I couldn't have Holland on the intro anymore, so it was time to retire that officially. And it was about time I stopped being lazy. But
it's a good call. I was honestly I would have been fine sitting on that for a while. But now that we have City coming up next, that would have been that makes a lot of sense that we're changing it.
Yeah, got to change it up. Also, we haven't actually seen each other in a few weeks, maybe because you were in Germany and France and everything. And then last week I had COVID. Feeling a lot better now. This is like the first day. Like I got over it, but I was still like feeling not 100%. And I still sound a little congested, but like this is the first day I actually feel like good to go and normal. It took a while, but feeling good now. And we got a lot to cover because we had a couple games. Now we've won 3 on the trot. Hoffenheim last Friday, and then we had our Champions League game on Tuesday. So we're going to recap both those games. We've got a women's update from Adam a little bit later in the show. We'll get into some Twitter questions, and then of course preview the game against RB Leipzig, now the Marco Rosa Derby, this Saturday, and then Manchester City, as we said, in Champions League next Wednesday. Before we get into the Hoffenheim preview, though, a lot of movement with former Dortmund coaches while Terzic is over here getting his first. Is it his first Champions League win? Probably for Terzic, right? Because he didn't coach.
No. He was in charge of us for the legs. No, he was in charge against Sevilla.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good. We had the two losses against City when he was in charge, but we had the wins against Sevilla.
Yeah, I couldn't remember when he took
Which
charge.
He's going to have another win against Sevilla coming out because they're in our group. So
and City
round 2.
He'll get his revenge on City. But while he's cruising, a lot of movement with former Dortmund coaches. Thomas Tuchel let go from Chelsea after they lost to Dinamo Zagreb in Champions League.
Boy, everyone thought that was coming for a while, Tuchel getting fired. I mean, he switched up his system from a back 3 to a back 4 and of course, if you've been a Dortmund fan for a while, you know that, he brings a lot of toxic atmospheres into the dressing room and especially to the board. And it looks like, Tuchel's also been someone who wants to be have a little bit more of a say in a lot of things for the higher ups of the club. And it looks like this new owner of Chelsea is a little bit more hands-on. So I guess they were just wanting to get him out of there, which is also just crazy since considering the money that they invested into Tuchel this whole summer. And they've spent more than anyone else in the Premier League. And then to can Tuchel, 5 games into the Premier League? Yeah. It's pretty shocking stuff.
Just when he got Aubameyang finally started.
Yeah. And Aubameyang's like, I'm happy to be back with Thomas. It's been a long time coming. But wow, what a replacement though I don't want to turn this into the Chelsea podcast, but for them to get their hands on Graham Potter is a really good appointment for them. And I'm not too hyped for Potter personally, just because obviously Chelsea is such a cutthroat club, and Potter I would imagine is going to need some time to implement things and get his work cut out for him. But I hope he can really try to build something there. I mean, not that I like Chelsea, but I do rate Potter and I do like Potter, but I don't know how much time they're really going to give him before they're already breathing down his neck if things aren't going well, straight out of the gates.
Yeah, I mean, that's typical Chelsea style, but it kind of feels like maybe with this appointment, maybe that's what they're planning to build something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but they were investing a lot in youth this summer as well. I mean, they obviously a lot of big names, but a lot of youth, so maybe they were looking for something like that.
To wrap the Chelsea talk, I'll just say I saw some Twitter account that was just like, I do not care to watch Chelsea, but I'm very interested to watch Graham Potter and see how this works out. And that's how I feel like I don't care for Chelsea at all. But I kind of want to root for Graham Potter a little bit. The other thing, we won't talk on this one as much, but Klopp is wobbling a little bit. Shaky start to the season, and I saw like Klopp out trending the other day. Yesterday, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know if that will happen.
Well, I know when he was slowly getting exposed, when he was with us, the club came out and they were like, "We're not firing Klopp. That's not something that has ever been in our plans. It probably never will be. If anything, it probably they didn't say this at the end, but if anything, it probably would be a mutual agreement, which is what it was at the end." And I don't know if Liverpool is going to have that same kind of attitude towards him. I would hope so. I mean, for God's sake, we don't need to get into how incredible of a job he has done at Liverpool these past several years, but I mean, you got to back him with more resources as well. Not only time, but resources. You know, they didn't really spend too much. I know they got Darwin Nunez and some other names, but you still got to give him the resources to compete with City because, I mean, they're relentless in their spending. So,
yeah. And I don't know if I was going to say anything else about Klopp. I don't remember, but we'll just move on. The other big movement, former Dortmund coach is Marco Rose is officially at Leipzig, and like he's signed everything. He should be taking. I don't know if he took practice today.
Yeah, he did.
So, and then so he'll be on the sidelines Saturday. We'll get more into him in that with our preview for Leipzig. But let's jump right into recapping Hoffenheim. Again, this game took place last Friday, so it feels like forever ago.
It does.
Friday night football, Friday afternoon football, and we ended up getting the win 1-0. Thanks to a Marco Reus goal in the 16th minute. So it was another
clean sheet.
Another clean sheet, very important. But another 1-0 hanging on to the win, which like I've got mixed feelings about him. Overall, good. I want us to score more, but I also love that we're just not like letting up and we're able to hold on to
unnecessary goals or anything like that.
And I mean, you have any thoughts overall before we get in lineup and really break down the game?
I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough one, of course, and just ridden with injuries. I mean, I was just saying right before we went live that we've been doing this show for like right under a year now, and it's just beyond parody at this point that every week we're still like, well, we have injuries, so, you know, lineups are picking themselves. I mean, and again, and even through the summer, it was the exact same way through the summer. All the rest we still had Reina out for I don't know how long. I mean, we signed Ozcan, and he was having problems with his knee, I believe it was. You could just go down the list. We signed him
when we knew he was injured.
Yeah. But I mean, you could just go down the list. I mean, there was just countless other. Morey, with recent weeks, I know he had his year long.
Out of nowhere, it's just like, oh, and surprise, Morey's going to have another surgery.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Of course, the problem with Haller too. It's ridiculous. It's honestly incredible. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I don't watch too many sports outside of soccer, but I've never seen this before. An injury crisis go on as long as it has been at Dortmund so far. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and I mean, so coming into this game, Hoffenheim's been in pretty good form. They beat Bochum, Leverkusen, and Augsburg, scoring quite a few goals in most of those games. Their only loss was to Gladbach, first game of the season. And then coming into this, we're going to talk about it later because it happened before Copenhagen too, but just another surprise injury right before, which was Rafa Guerrero. Not an injury. I guess he had an illness, but still, that kind of like threw things off to where, because last week we were talking about kind of going back and forth between Meunier and Wolf, and I'm like, who gets the start? I think in this game we saw some good really, I thought Wolf had a great game playing on the left. Yeah. But we were talking more about that right back position and who's going to take it, and do we really have depth in that position and between those two. But so lineup, we saw Kobel, Meunier, Hummels got the start against Schlotterbeck, and Wolf at left back, which was a lot of debate and just talk before the game on Twitter, online, about how that was going to work out. Ozcan and Bellingham in the middle, Brandt, Royce, and Bino Gittins getting the start because we're down Mullen, and we're down Adeyemi, and then Modeste up top. I mean, what were your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, again, it kind of picked themselves. I mean, I'm glad Bino Gittins was, able to get a second start here. I wish he would have done more with the minutes he had. Of course, he had to come off for that injury, which was a little bit of a strange one. After watching the replay and him go down with his shoulder, it didn't look like he had much contact, but obviously, he knows his body better than anyone else. So, but other than that, I thought it was a pretty solid lineup choice. I probably wouldn't have gone with much different given that the injury crisis, but obviously, again, I know that Hoffenheim was going to be pretty dangerous for a number of reasons. I mean, they're pretty versatile in their attack. Their two forwards, in Kramaric and Rutter, are dangerous in their own ways. And, of course, they can be dangerous out on the wings, too, with Angelino coming in on their side this season, and he can whip in countless crosses. And if Meunier doesn't do his job correctly, we could be in pretty big trouble coming down the flanks. So, I mean, that was pretty much my thought process. Did you have anything else?
I thought we did really, like, we started with a lot of pressure, and I felt like our press was good and keeping them up the field, and I didn't see much from Angelino. Like, I thought whether it was Meunier or I think a big part of it was just like Jude and Özcan were so good in the middle to win everything that was coming through. Like, we were able to hold them and not allow them to get a lot of chances. Yeah, which was great.
Pretty much definitely the first half. I don't think they had barely any.
First half, second half wasn't as.
I don't think they had barely any chances, if not any big chances, the entire game. But we did do a pretty good job of keeping Angelino pretty quiet, thankfully. And I mean, it was a pretty conservative, pretty cagey first 10, 12 minutes or so, feeling each other out. Wasn't too, I guess, electric of how we were going about our, having possession and everything, but. Once we got that first goal early on, the floodgates opened, and we had two beautiful opportunities, huge opportunities right after that we should have put away and gone into the half at 3-0 up. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I mean, the first goal, pretty good combination from a handful of players. Great touch from Brandt to set up Bellingham / Royce. I guess you can kind of pick who that ball was going for.
Okay, I got to say a little bit on it. So this goal started out on the left wing, Bino Gittins doing his thing and like coming inside, cutting inside, which we've just seen that that's like one of his strengths. Like, he's really good at that. And then dishing it off to Brandt. I thought Brandt throughout this game in the first half especially, like, got in a lot of really good spaces and had a lot of good opportunities. Just kind of saw it in the Copenhagen game too, which we'll talk about. But just the final ball, final touch, final decision making just was not really there.
But it was a tough ball to settle, though. I know Brandt is, he's talented in the sense that he's got a really good technique and everything, and he's got beautiful control on the ball. Could have been a tiny bit better, but I mean, it still resulted in a goal, and it got it into a beautiful, dangerous position though at the same time. And I don't think that goes in without Bellingham, putting in the work to really like body everyone else off to give Royce, the shot on goal.
Yeah, if Bellingham didn't go for it and get pushed off of it, then Royce wouldn't have been in there. So it was a very weird kind of play, but it worked out perfectly. It was like good. I mean, Bellingham was there enough to like take a swing at it and just barely missed it. And luckily he did. If he would have got a little touch.
I don't think, the commentators were saying he got contact. I don't think he did.
Because that's what I watched that replay a lot, and my thought was like, man, if he would have touched that, got any kind of hit on it, then it would have been away from Royce and the keeper probably would have saved it, or he wasn't like stable enough to get a good shot off, I think. Yeah. So
and Bellingham was saying after the game, we retweeted that a quick clip of him and his post-game interview of just him saying that was some of the best football he thinks we've played this season, especially in the first half. And I would agree that definitely in the first half. I don't know so much about the second half, which we'll get into, but I mean, it was very free-flowing. It was just waves after waves of attacks, and I love that we were able to utilize our wings. I mean, Meunier, I also retweeted maybe like a week or so back about, I think it was, I think it was the BVB Buzz. I could be wrong. It might have been BVB Buzz or the news blog was retweeting some of Meunier's crossing stats. And he's easily been, like by miles, our most successful crosser in the team. And having him being able to whip those crosses in and get Modeste involved, and if he overshoots it or anything like that, or just somehow goes over to the left wing, you have Wolf there to whip in another one, which is exactly what happened a few minutes after the first goal. Him whipping in the cross to Modeste, and Modeste should be putting that away. It should be 2-0 up, and I know that's a classic Modeste goal, and he's extremely dangerous in the air, but his finishing ability has just got to be better. I mean, of course, we're going to be having such tougher competition coming up, and if we don't put those chances away early on, you're going to get punished.
Do you think we're still playing, or do you think, I don't know if we're doing it yet to where we're utilizing Modeste enough? Like, he had a couple chances in this game, like a couple really good chances that he probably should have scored, even in the Copenhagen game. It's like we're starting to see him get involved a little more, but I'm still like, these last couple games watching him, I'm still like, I feel like he's missing a bit. Like, and we need,
especially with the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, and because we've been pretty good at working the ball around, but it's like, maybe it's that our final pass hasn't been great, and maybe that's what's missing. It's like, yeah, the final pass, just send it into Modeste.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we need. It just seems like we're not doing that. We're still not like utilizing him or like playing in the style we need to best utilize him. So I don't know if that's something
which very well has been a problem in our recent past, especially last season, which, we didn't have Modeste at the time, but that was a problem with us last season. And I think
we barely had Holland last season too. So
yeah, and I think we're having bits and pieces of still kind of trying to clean that up and get our attacks a little bit more crisp and clean and efficient. But again, we are really figuring out a game plan to get him more involved. And I think it was night and day between the Werder Bremen game and the Berlin game. I mean, you could see just Modeste was just a whole new player almost. And I mean, not just him though. I mean, maybe a few minutes after that, it was another insanely huge chance that we completely wasted. It was Modeste this time dishing it off to Jamie Bynel Gittens, who just he looked like he was on a whole different planet.
I don't think he was not ready for it to come in.
No. And I mean, I don't know. It looked like he had no idea a ball could even come into him. And it's like he was in that position.
Yeah, he was in the perfect position. And
I think that just comes down to his age and lack of maturity and just, I guess, lack of awareness too. But again, you should be up 3-0 at that point, and you could really be putting the game to bed. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And luckily they didn't come back and score. But man, then you're dancing a line the whole game of just being one goal up. Other things I noticed in the first half, I mean, Bellingham just back into incredible form. I think one of the worst games he had in a Dortmund kit was in the Werder Bremen game. And which is such a rarity to say. I mean, he's pretty much a stellar every single game, but he bounced back, and again, the tenacity and the brilliant technical ability that he brings into this game, especially in the first half too. You mentioned Brandt already, and I'm going to talk about him more and more as the show goes on. But my God, he's been in terrific form as well, and not just his technical elegance as well, Brandt, but I mean his tenacity too. I've never seen.
He's been getting tackles in.
Yeah,
he's working a lot harder. Like that's what he's been criticized for a lot. And I think he's putting in the work. I still think like he's been getting in such good positions. And like you almost see like this like Jekyll and Hyde performances like throughout the game where he does something fantastic and then does something like horrendous. You're like, dude, how could you miss a pass that bad? But I think the fact that he's like, if he makes a mistake, he's still going. Like he's still creating good chances throughout the game. And I think I'm critical of him a little bit, but I still see a lot more good than the bad. And it's because because those are easy. I think that's easy to improve as the season goes on, and just So I don't think we're seeing a bad player with the missed passes and everything. Like that can get better, and it will as we go on. So it's just looking good.
The club made the correct decision to keep him this summer, and he's proving it more and more pretty much every single game now. And I just never seen him track back the way he did in these last two games. I've never seen that from him in a Dortmund kit before. I mean, just him sprinting like what seemed like at least 50 or 60 yards all the way back to go and try to, cover our back four whenever some of them are out of position like that. It was really encouraging to see that, he actually does have that work rate in him. Now it's just a matter of how long can he keep that up? Is this something that hopefully it's a turn of the corner and that's the player that he wants to grow into and he can bring that tenacity on a semi-regular basis? That's me being optimistic, but at the very least he can, show that in bits and pieces because, that's a game. He becomes more and more of a game changer whenever he brings that other aspect of his game into the team of, picking up more of that defensive responsibility and bringing more of that fire, which that's like the one thing I think Brent lacked is just his aggression and that fire that he has in his belly that I think he can have at times.
Yeah, I think we were very heavily the Brant boys last season, and we kind of started that season this way too. And I think we've seen him more obviously than I think we thought. We weren't sure where he was going to stand this season, but he's had to come in due to our injuries, and luckily he's performing and he's doing well. I hope. Just the injuries. It's like, because we have a lot of games with Champions League and just back to back, and like people are going to need. We don't have the rotation that we need, which
is crazy because like I feel like on the wings or in attack, that's exactly where we had like the most depth. But just every week it just keeps getting nicked in the bud more and more and more, and you're looking at the bench like, damn, we don't have anyone else back there now. I could have sworn there was like 6 more players we signed here in the summer, but now it's just everyone's in a hospital bed.
Yeah, and that's the concern.
Wrapped
I think
in bubble wrap.
It's great that we're seeing Brandt put in a lot more effort and make bigger runs and run harder. But like then there's the concern. It's like, well, do you need to conserve some energy? Got to play again in a few days against Man City.
Yeah.
So.
And Brandt's too is like one of those type of people that like he runs for like 10 minutes and his face is just completely puffy red, like he's just ran a half marathon or something like that, you know.
Modeste, which he gets around. Okay, Modeste gets around way more than like we did see him the last couple games. He kind of like dropped back and got into like some outside positions to make like to cross the Bono Gittins, like we said. But he's kind of like dropping a little bit, and I like it. I don't know if he has the pace that we really need to like when he drops to get back up the field where we need him to be. But it's good to see, I think, that kind of like rotation around a little bit and him getting into different positions, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a valid question that some people have been asking online that I've been seeing in the last few weeks of just like Modeste has definitely been putting in the work on and off the ball, but you know, he's 34, he's a bigger dude, and he doesn't have that kind of pace, and some people think our attack looks a little bit better when we do have that pace up top to make those forward runs behind the back line. But, I mean, again, this is also another reason why, I mean, not for the pace, but for the other reasons I mentioned, this is why the club went and actually selected Modeste over people like Cavani or like it pretty much never was going to happen to begin with, but like especially like Ronaldo, who just are not going to have that kind of pressing ability. They're not going to go and want to actually go and press that back line and create some chaos back there and keep up that fitness. Modeste has been playing all last season. He's been playing all those games. He's not really prone to any injuries or anything like that. And again, he's been putting in the work, which he's growing on me. I'm liking him more and more. He's just got to get a little bit better and a little bit more clinical.
Yeah, he's jumped in and been more like plug and play, like ready to go than I thought. It's just, I think it's been more of a matter of like us actually like knowing how to work with him in the system. Yeah. But like I love his pressure. I love how much he runs and the fact that he's been like dropping a little bit and trying to get in the build up play too, which is good. We just need to piece it all together. But the fact that we can say we haven't been playing to our best, and we're still grinding out these wins, which is
unlike the Werder Bremen game.
Unlike Werder Bremen, but we're just seeing these grind a little more than I would say. Like, I mean, Werder Bremen was a good example of like what happened most of the time. Last year.
Yeah,
and
no,
years
definitely
before that, and so it's good to see this slow change. I'll take the 1-0 grind out.
Yeah. And so that first half, again, a lot of traffic flow was actually pretty much all of it was coming from Dortmund. Created a lot of chances, should be 2-3 up, but it's still a 1-goal lead. You just have to come out in the second and push for another, which unfortunately that just didn't happen. Very underwhelming second half offensively, not defensively, but just in attack. Again, very underwhelming. Didn't really look like we had that kind of fire in us that I know this team has. But Hoffenheim made 3 changes at the break, and came out and the first 10 minutes of the second half, Hoffenheim already looked miles better than they did in the first half, and starting to put us against the ropes a little bit, but wasn't too worried overall. I mean, again, our defensive partnership, whether it's Schlotterbeck and Hummels or Schlotterbeck and Sule, is starting to be almost kind of like impenetrable. I mean, and I can't remember the last time that I've looked at our defense and been like, wow, that's actually a defensively sound back 4 or back 3. I mean, that's a team that actually knows how to defend pretty well, which I wish I could say that was the case whenever I was in Dortmund. But yeah, I mean, again, second half, Bellingham, just phenomenal. I love the tenacity and grit that he brought into the midfield every game, but especially this game.
We are seeing him get in more advanced positions. Oh man, he should have had like a hat trick in the Copenhagen game. But like we're seeing him be able to push up, and that's what we talked about before with Özcan in there, and if that's going to give him the ability to do it, and that's exactly what we're seeing. I think I said that exact line last week, so I apologize. But it's like it's exciting to see. I have loved O'Shan too.
Yeah, he complements Bellingham so well.
They've
so
been
well.
a great.
You couldn't have asked for a better replacement if Dahoud goes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Hazard, we didn't talk about, but Hazard came on once Bino Gittins came off the shoulder injury. My God, has he been incredibly disappointing for so long now? And I really want to back him because I've seen him play. I've seen him play before. He was at Dortmund, and I think he's a quality player. But like, just it seems like every just shred of confidence has been ripped out of him in these last like year and a half or 2 years, and he just continues to miss these ridiculously huge opportunities and just he's predictable on an attack, and I don't know. It's tough. Thankfully, Gio Reyna's back, and he looks miles ahead of Hazard. And for the little time that he had, he already looked better, in my opinion. But in the second half, overall, I mean, the game management was a bit better than a game against Werder Bremen. Again, I know we continue to build on that game management. I know Terzic continues to build on that game management skills, and you just got to grind out the results and push for a clean sheet, which is what we did.
Yeah, we saw. You said we saw Gio come on in the 83rd minute with Sule.
Mm-hmm.
They came on for Brandt and Wolf. We've seen this was kind of a late substitution, and we've seen usually Terzic sub like at the 60th minute.
Yeah.
And with how this game was going, like Hoffenheim had a lot more control. They were winning the ball a lot more, playing a lot better,
getting into a lot better advanced positions too. Their positioning was really helpful for them as well.
You think we would have seen the early subs? The thing is, we didn't have anyone else to bring on. Like that was like we had to wait because those substitutions. I mean, Gio is an attacking player, but also I know they're still trying to ease him in a little more, I think.
In professional soccer, it's just something I never understood. It's like, if they're on the bench, are they fit to play or are they not? I don't get it, because if they're not going to play, they're not. You don't have to play them for 90 minutes, but if they're coming on to 5 or 10 minutes to go, it seems like they're probably more fit to play more minutes than that. Or if they're not fit and you're only trying to play them for a few more minutes, I don't understand why they need to be on the bench to begin with. Because then clearly that means it's going to be a risk for them to re-injure themselves. So I don't know. I would have put Gio on a little bit earlier, but that's just me. I don't know the ins and outs of the physio team and everything.
Did you notice the formation change with Gio? Like he kind of he played like a 10 role. Mm-hmm. Royce and Modeste were like two strikers. It was like a 3-5-2 kind of.
Yeah, I know. It seems like Terzic kind of favors at times late in the game putting Royce a little higher up, which I never liked Royce up top. I mean, besides his pressing ability, I guess if that's just a matter of we're trying to defend from the front, and keep him pinned down. But I don't like Royce for the most part being a number 9.
Yeah, I like Gio in that 10. Well, I was like, oh, let's see what he didn't do much. There wasn't much to. I don't know. We still didn't really create anything from that. We still had some chances here and there. Mm-hmm. We had a good chance from like Hazard and Modeste on the counter, which is something I want to see more. I think like us really push it on counterattacks because I think we have the players to do it if none of them are injured. We have the players to really push it if Modeste can get up there. But like he was up there for that chance in like the 85th minute. And I feel like we're kind of taking our time moving up the pitch, and I just want to see. I feel like we have the ability, and I feel like it could create a lot of good chances, and I want to see that more. I'm not saying let's sit back and be a counterattacking team, but I think given the opportunities, we should go for it.
Yeah, you could still counterattack without also being like a low block team as well. And again, that goes back to just how we want to line up an attack. I mean, if we want to have more of that pacey, catch them on the counter, that you're probably going to look for more of a player like Moukoko, but at least you have the options to do both. Mm-hmm. And especially in one game, even if one's not working, you can kind of switch one out and see how the other game style goes, or game plan goes. But overall, I mean, again, need to be more clinical, need to take those chances early on and put the game to bed early if we can. Still susceptible to counters at times on the defensive end, can be caught out with someone. Schlotterbeck being a little higher. Of course, you have Meunier and Wolf who like to kind of push up. But again, I think Terzic is really starting to build on the foundation of that he's been working on for a few months now, and it's a mature performance. I think this really, again, these are the performances that your games that you come back and you look on come April and May and be like, that was a vital 3 points. which we should be top of the table if it weren't for the monstrosity that was against Werder Bremen. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but we would be top of the table. So I guess we're kind of technically tied, but yeah, overall, at least it's another 3 points, another clean sheet, which we had like 1 or 2 last season or something like that. It was never had one. So I think we've already had 3. So and we're already looking more defensively sound.
I think the only other thing I want to mention is in the 86th minute, a kid ran onto the pitch, which
I did see that. Yeah,
notice. I just saw this big security dude running on the pitch and was like, what is that guy doing? Because the kid was in a full kit, which is awesome.
And he was like kind of like running back like he was running on defense. I did see that as well.
So I didn't even notice. I just see the security guard, and then next thing you see is Jude literally just like escorting the kid off, which is great because I mean he's a kid, and you don't know. I mean, I don't think the security would have like tackled the kid or anything. Hopefully not. But it's good to see Jude just like calming the situation down and like taking the kid back to the stands. But I just saw that guy running. I was like, what is happening? They're like, there's a kid on the pitch. I'm like, where?
Yeah.
He's in a full kit. That was awesome.
The last thing I wanted to say too on the Hoffenheim game is, which goes back to Modeste, is I mean he helped a lot defensively on corners as well. I think that's another great thing about having him in the team. I mean, I think he cleared like 90% of Hoffenheim's corners, and you know how piss poor we can be on set pieces and defending those. So his technical ability and finishing needs to be a little bit better, but he's a great person to have in the back whenever we're defending corners or set pieces late in the game. He can get the ball out and hold up play. So yeah, fair play to him. I think he did well for the most part.
I have one more question kind of related to that game, but this will transition into Copenhagen. Wolf and our depth in our fullbacks, because obviously we've seen him back and forth with Meunier, starting on the right back, but then to see that he is where's our left back depth? Like, are we going to trust Rota? Is that like the fact that we didn't see him start for Guerrero? Like, if Guerrero goes out, like, what's our option? Like, I don't like that. Wolf is one of our right back options, and then we had to start him on the left.
But Wolf can play anywhere on the wings. I mean, he can play like literally like straight up and down all the way on the right, and then the same thing on the left back, left mid, and left wing. I mean, hell, whenever we first had him years back when we got him from Frankfurt, he was a striker, if I'm not wrong. So, I mean, I mentioned a few weeks back, I think he's going to be kind of like the next Grosskreutz, where you could just kind of plug him in wherever you want, and he's going to do his job.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to playing him at left back if Guerrero's out.
Well, I think he did great.
Yeah,
he held up defensively. He still gave us stuff going forward. I thought he did really well. My only the thing I don't like is that's the option. It's like we don't have like we don't have full depth even without injuries.
Yeah,
it's like. So I was like, I wish we would have, and I think people called for another left back coming in, but also over the summer,
definitely.
But that was on the note that Guerrero might be going out. Yeah. So it's like we still need.
And Schultz not being a piece of shit too, given the allegations against him.
That's the thing. I kind of forgot because I've written him off completely. So that is the thing.
Which is rightfully so.
Yeah, oh yeah. And he was the depth there. I don't know what's happening with that, but that's fine.
Even before the Schultz allegations, absolutely, people were definitely calling for a left back, and I think it's pretty clear, cut and dry. Come January, hopefully January at the latest next summer, we're going to really invest in another left back, as well as I think we definitely need another center back as well. But
I know, and obviously it takes time to build a squad, and we still did a lot in the summer. And a lot of good,
we did,
and it's just going to take time. That's just my worry when I look at. I want us to progress. Like I want us to play a lot of games. I want us to have a good run in Champions League. I want us to have a good run in the Pokal. And you need depth. And we're already struggling with injuries.
Yeah, but
I'm just concerned.
Yeah, I mean I guess Nottingham Forest did. I was going to say you can't buy like 15 players, and I think they literally did.
They bought like 26.
I was going to say something. It was over 15. But I mean, you can only reinvest so much without completely like screwing up the chemistry and the overall, I guess, just philosophy of your game. But it's just a shame that everything has gone awry. I mean, we had 7 signings, and late July, I was like, this is a team that you can look down the line of like, man, this team has depth in every position and almost, and it's got quality in every role, but it just, you get eaten away by just all these injuries and the Haller situation and everything. And it's just a really tough mountain to climb for the club. And especially the board of, how they're going to plan to go forward in January. I really do think we're probably going to potentially loan someone in the spring or just look at another, I don't know. It could be anywhere from like a mid 20-year-old, decent center back or left back somewhere in Europe and, have them kind of just play like a sporadic role. Yeah. Kind of ease them into the team for the next year.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll move on to first Champions League game of the season versus FC Copenhagen. And our surprise injury of the week, Gregor Kobel.
Stefan.
Yeah, I know. I think that tweet before every game, I'm just like, that tweet flashes through my brain. What's it going to be this week? And this week it was Gregor Kobel out with muscular problems, is what they said. Is it? I also saw hamstring. Do you know?
It was, Stefan was saying it was an actual tear and it wasn't just like muscle problems. But it wasn't just him either. I mean, 20 minutes into the game, Hazard came off too.
Yeah. When does this happen? At training? Did it happen in the last game? Did it happen walking to the stadium? I just want more of a heads up. I feel like they knew this happened and they didn't tell us. And I don't like finding out when the team sheet comes out. When is this happening?
Yeah, it was like that too with it's just, I don't know, they're so weird with that. Sometimes I think they're pretty decent with their communication in the club and other times I think it's kind of bad. But I mean, it was the same way too with the Werder Bremen game with people thinking, I mean, Adeyemi was getting the green light and then like the lineup came out an hour before the game and Adeyemi wasn't even in the squad. So I have no idea if something just like the day before or hours before. I'm not sure. But you got to say Sule start. I believe this was his first start in a competitive match.
No, he did.
No, he started in the
Pokal match.
I was going to say against the Munich.
Yeah.
Which him and Schlotterbeck looked fantastic. Really defensively sound in this game. That's what I wanted to emphasize pretty much more than anything. We're more defensively sound than I could remember in a really long time. And that's a partnership with Schlotty and Sule that can really grow for a long time, especially that they're both German and they're both going to be playing for the national team as well. But I mean, dominant football too when we were in attack. Made some really good combinations. I think we're building a lot better chemistry up front. Again, getting Modeste involved. You can see that in each of our goals pretty much, that we're just connecting more and we're more on the same page, which I mentioned so many times last year under Rosa. I was just like, everyone looks like they've never played with each other before. Like they're complete strangers and they have no idea how to connect. And this is a team that looks like it actually has some unity and some collectiveness and some ideas that are shared amongst each other too. So it's fun to watch. This was one of the more entertaining, not only entertaining games, but really exciting and fun games to watch in a long time.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the good like 1-2 passing that we crave, and like we got glimpses of last season, but that's like our strength. Like when we can piece it together, and we look so good doing it. And so we saw that a lot this game, which was fantastic. I'll run through the lineup real quick. I mean, you mentioned it, but Meunier was right back.
Yep.
Sule, Schlotterbeck in the middle.
And Guerrero was back.
The interesting thing, and what I was talking about with Wolf, when I brought up Wolf earlier, what I was getting at is there's been that it's going to be Meunier or Wolf. And this, I feel like we almost saw, which I thought Meunier did fine in the last game. Like I didn't see anything wrong with him really. It's like he had
nothing great, but also nothing bad either.
Some bad passing in the final third, but like did nothing horrendous. I thought. So I thought he was fine to get the start. Like I had no problems with that. And I think we saw Wolf on the bench almost more of we need depth and we might need him to come on up front. So it's like he was our winger depth, which is why I think he was on the bench. Bellingham, Ocean again, Brandt, Royce, Hazard got the start. And then because Bruno Gittins is out.
And Meyer too, of course, when Kobel's out.
Yeah, Mullen. I forgot.
Not Mullen, Meyer.
No, I was saying Mullen was out, and then you interrupted with Meyer. But
my bad.
I forgot to mention Meyer got the start in his UCL debut, and then Modeste up top. Hazard, like you mentioned, injured. I think he got a knock in his ankle. It got kicked in the ankle. Had to go out in the 22nd minute. I feel like I need to apologize a little bit because I put out a tweet that I wasn't saying anything against Gio, but I said I love seeing Gio come on, but not because it's due to another injury 22 minutes in the match. It ended up being great because Gio played a great game. But it sucks that just when looking at the depth, it's like there's just another guy down. So
yeah. I do wanted to go back and touch on Meyer real quick. I mean, he was tested twice at minimum, if I'm not wrong, really early on. I mean, like seconds into the game, even when they hit the post. I mean, they nicked it. But
that was like the first minute.
Yeah.
They started real quick, shot in the first minute, went off the post. It kind of slowed down after that. But there was one. Sorry, you can continue.
I was just going to say, I mean, like Meyer hasn't even played in the Bundesliga his entire career, and here he is making his Champions League debut. And I mean, he did pretty well. I mean, he made some decent stops. I mean,
he had a big save off a corner.
Yeah,
it was like
I remember
right
that
in the 6. Like
yeah. I mean, that was a crucial stop. I thought his distribution was also very solid for where he's played his whole career and also his age as well. But I mean, he didn't look really a step out of place. He was really up to the pace of the game. Again, made some really vital stops. Not the cleanest of saves, but I mean, he did his job and he did what was asked of him. So again, with Dortmund of having a very solid backup goalkeeper, I mean, it's a luxury to have one of those, really.
Mm-hmm. I think even in the match whoever the commentators were, I don't remember who it was, but they told like the story of him getting the call from Dortmund, and they said he was surprised, like he thought his phone cut out and like his agent did not say Dortmund.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you want to come to Dortmund? And he like wasn't sure that's what he actually said.
That's funny.
And so he was like surprised and blown away that like Dortmund was calling him. It'll be interesting to see. I think we'll talk about it a lot more. But if Kobel's not ready to go, to see him get tested a lot more, because even in this season where we've been way more solid defensively, we've still relied on Kobel, especially in these grinding out 1-0 wins. Mm-hmm. Kobel has saved us on a couple of those games.
Oh my God, on every game, every single game.
To where that it could have been a late draw or whatever if it wasn't for Kobel making a huge save. So I hope we don't. If Meyer has to play the next few games, I just hope he's not put in that kind of position, because they're just insane saves that Kobel makes, and I don't see a lot of other keepers making those same saves.
Yeah, no, it's not even a knock to Meyer. It's just it's a standard that's really tough for anyone else to really reach. But again, did his job. Everyone did his job, or did their jobs this game. I mean, I love the work rates from everyone. I mean, I think that a lot of that comes down to Terzic with the team mentality and emphasis on the team mentality that he brings, and he wants everyone to have a sense of unity about themselves and believe in each other, and have the confidence and also in each other, but also like hold each other accountable, which Ozcan does a great job of doing that as well. I mean, he's always bossing everyone around him to make sure they're well organized and staying alert and staying concentrated as well. Brandt again continues to impress me with his work rate in this game as well. His finishing still needs some work. His final game in general, I still think really needs some work. Skied a few chances that I think he could have at the very least put on target. But I mean, I loved his work rate.
I mean, he got that beautiful ball to Royce in the 35th minute to give us our first goal. So, like I said before, a little like some inconsistency, and of course he's not going to be perfect. We saw some pretty bad passes. We saw where he like just tripped and fell on the ball for a handball after doing something. I think it was shortly after the goal, maybe like he did something great and then just kind of messes up. But we can't expect him to be perfect, and he's still creating a lot of good chances and the goals.
I saw a comment and I thought it was really funny. It was when you expect Brandt to be a Brandt, but then he ends up being a Brandt.
Pretty solid.
But yeah, I mean Royce too. I mean he's in terrific form in general, not just this game. But I mean that the goal he had in the game overall from Royce was classy. It was a vintage performance from Royce. I mean that is exactly how he was whenever he was a lot younger. And again, just his composure on the ball in those tight areas, especially in the attacking third, is just unmatched. I love the performance from really everyone here. I can't really say enough. I mean, Bellingham too, just bossed the midfield. You can go on. You can go down the line. We just have so much more to get to, but I really did love the performance from pretty much everyone this game.
I mean, and Reyna got 2 assists, which is he's the first American to get 2 assists in a Champions League game, which is fantastic to see. I think if you weren't paying too much, like outside of his assists, if you weren't just watching Reyna the whole time, you might think he didn't do much in that game. But I think obviously he got the assist, but I think he still worked the ball around. I thought he had a great game.
Yeah, I mean he does such a good job of linking up attacks too. I mean, even if you're not a Dortmund fan, you just like casually watched a Dortmund game here and there, and if you're an American fan, you definitely know the same thing. I mean, you could see our attacks are pretty much night and day when it comes to having Reyna in our midfield for the U.S. I mean, he links up those plays really, really well and gets the offense involved and everything. And I want to say like he's back and he's fully healthy, but then again, I mean, I think he played in the Bremen game those last 10 or so minutes, and then he picked up another knock somehow after the game or something like that, or maybe during the game, and didn't really feel it until the day after. So I'm still like crossing my fingers and making sure he's in the squad for this weekend against Leipzig. But
yeah, like you said, we have some other stuff to get to. So we'll kind of wrap this game. I mean, we won 3-0.
Yeah.
Rafa had a great goal. We saw. I'm trying to looking through my notes. I forgot.
Great way to kick off the Champions League season. I mean, you obviously it was very vital to start off with the win. We start and end the group stage against Copenhagen, so I think we can, if we perform even like half the way we did, I think we're going to still get another result against Copenhagen, which hopefully puts us through, given our performances against Sevilla and City. So
yeah, I think going to Copenhagen is going to be obviously a lot more difficult. I don't know why I have this feeling. I think it's because like how they played, like getting pretty physical and getting frustrated. I think, and they had a couple. I think because like first, like as soon as the game started, they had a chance right off the bat. Second half, they also had a chance right off the bat. They had these like moments that I think gave them a lot of hope. I could be making this up. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they deserved more out of that game.
You think so?
I think that's what they're thinking.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
We dominated that game, clearly, but I think they felt like they deserved a little more out of the game to where they're going to come out really strong at home and really want to get it back. So I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think if we play like that, then like we cruise through that game.
Yeah, and hopefully we still have a little bit more depth in our squad to where we can go out and have a little bit more firepower, or at least a little bit more defensive stability at the back too, and having more options on the bench. I know you said they had like two chances, right off the bat, the first and second, but at the end of the day, still, I mean, their XG was still only 0.5 compared to our almost 3. So XG, I know we scored 3, but yeah,
there was that one chance. I have to point out Moukoko and Brandt, who I don't know what happened. They both kicked the ball over each other. Like it was a great ball in from, I think it came from Jude. Oh, it was excellent ball from Jude to Royce, who crossed it into Moukoko, who I don't know if it was Moukoko and Brandt. I don't know if Brandt didn't say anything.
Yeah,
but it was kind of like,
or if he did and Moukoko
just
didn't care, because that's the kind of player Moukoko is. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of the criticism that people have against him is. He can just be extremely selfish in front of goal and he gets that tunnel vision. But I mean, that's obviously got to be Brandt. I mean, not only is Brandt on his right foot,
but Brandt got it. That's a goal, easy goal, easy tap in for Brandt.
Moukoko has to completely turn his body and everything too. It's just. I don't know. I don't know if it was a lack of communication or if it wasn't, and Moukoko just kind of got boneheaded there. But
yeah, it was pretty rough.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, anything else from this game?
I don't think so. No.
All right. So we are going to take a quick break. We have Adam who's going to jump in with an update about the Dortmund women's team. So we'll be right back.
Hello there, BVB fans. Adam is back here with a update on the women's team, or women's teams, maybe I should say. So let's start with the first women's team, who is now playing in the 6th tier of the women's German football pyramid. They have played 3 matches so far, and it is, 3 wins and 3 clean sheets. Not the dominant goal-scoring totals we saw last year, though. There was a 3-0 win in the Cup to kick off the season against Vadersloh, and then Matchday 1 and 2, 4-0 wins against Westfalia Hagen and Rot-Weiss Elan. So that's 11 goals scored and 0 conceded. 5 of those goals scored by Vanessa Kuhl, last year's top scorer. Anna Zabel has 2 of the goals as well. She scored a whole bunch last season as well. And a goal apiece for Caroline Kahl, the young, very tall striker, and Katrin Lau, another who scored a ton of goals last year. Annika Billig scored a bunch off the bench last year as well, and then one for newcomer Mandy Reinhardt. She started the most recent game at striker. One thing to note, haven't seen Hannah Guzman yet. I don't know if there's any lingering injury concerns going on, but I'll see if I can get to the bottom of that for you. So on the other hand, we have a second team this year for the BVB women, and they have played 4 matches so far, and holy moly, 8-0, 10-0, 15-1, and 12-0 for their games so far. So who are some players to know? Jennifer Kaleha, she has scored in each of the games. One of them she scored 5 goals in. She has 11 goals total in 4 games. Mariana Naseva. Notable for Mariana is she also plays for the North Macedonian national team. I don't know if there's any other players that we have that play on a national team. That's really cool. She already played on a World Cup qualifier, so that was really cool to see. Michelle Holter is the youngest player on the team. She has scored 6 goals so far, including a hat trick. First half hat trick in the most recent game. Worth noting, I've only been able to watch the cup match of the first team. The other 2 games were not broadcast. Now the second team, their most recent match was broadcast, and I was able to watch that. And I got to tell you, Mariana Naseva is something to behold, both in terms of scoring goals, winning balls, and assisting. She's something else, and there's quite a few players to keep an eye on. Also very impressed by Anna Teresa Schonenberg. She's a center back on the team. She's actually scored a couple goals already so far this season. So hope that was a useful update, and I look forward to doing more of these over the course of the season. Thanks all.
All right, and we are going to have everything linked for Adam so you can follow along with he has a great website covering the women. If you want to learn more about the women's team,
you guys already know.
You know, go follow Adam, and we have everything linked in our description for this episode. We are going to get into some Twitter questions before we wrap the episode, but of course we got to preview our upcoming games. Saturday, 9:30 Eastern time at Leipzig to take on Marco Rosa. Now, I have to throw this out there. In our our season preview episode, I called this. I said Tedesco. I didn't say he was going to get fired, but I said, I think Leipzig has been running on that. They had like a really long new manager bounce, and I just don't see them doing as well this season. And guess what happened?
You were right. You're right. Honestly, I had a little bit of confidence in Tedesco just because how well he picked the team up after the firing of Marsh. But they've been pretty shocking. I wonder. I was going to be pumped to play against Tedesco just because their confidence was so bad, and I would imagine, and I was hoping like we would have beaten them so bad that after they play us, then Tedesco would have gotten fired. But I mean, I don't know how. There's pretty much Rosa has little to no time to implement pretty much anything, and Leipzig have been running mostly a 3-back. And I know Rosa at times fancied his 4-2-3-1, so I'm not sure really how they're going to line up here. If Rosa's going to try to, go about his own ways of the lineup, or maybe stick to how Leipzig have been comfortable. But at the same time, I guess they haven't been doing well at all to begin with. So maybe he will change things up, and that could be an opportunity for us to, pounce and just rip them apart.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty confident going into this game just because where they've been, their confidence is down. Just got a new coach. I think. If you're going to hire a new coach like 2 days before the game, because we're recording this Thursday night, and he's signed this morning, Thursday morning. So that's like a day and a half to prepare for the game on Saturday, pretty much.
And, I mean, they've only won 2 out of their 7 competitive matches this season. I mean, that's pretty shocking for a team that like Leipzig.
I think if you want to be best prepared, if you have a new coach and you want to be best prepared for the team you're playing that weekend, hire that team's ex-coach.
Yeah,
and because he'll know, but like he'll kind of know how to prepare against Dortmund, but at the same time, he doesn't hardly know the Leipzig players that well. Yeah. So, I don't know.
And I mean, also, we've had such a massive change in personnel. I mean, I made a tweet earlier, but I mean, he didn't have Sule, he didn't have Schlotterbeck, which he wanted some of those players that we signed this summer. But I mean, it's a whole different team that we're looking at. Obviously, our attacks aren't solely going through one player like Haaland anymore, so we're a lot less one-dimensional. I'm feeling good. I mean, we're going to be away, and it's obviously going to be tough. But I think a result that of us winning is more than capable.
Yeah. What do you have a score prediction? I'm going 2-1. I'm just throwing it.
I'm gonna go 3-1 us.
Ooh. All right.
I know we're still waiting on some players to come back. Terzic had a quote today saying, today Malen and Adeyemi will participate in parts of the training again. This was this morning, so it's Thursday. It's also about how the reaction looks the day after. So I imagine by tomorrow we're probably going to get a better sense of if we're going to have more firepower of Malen and Adeyemi. One can hope.
Well, I know we don't have like we need one of them. We need someone because we don't have the depth. But I also don't want to see. I would also rather if they're not 100% ready, like even if it's for 60 minutes, if they're not 100% ready, I'd almost rather them not even be on the bench, not have a chance to run out on the pitch, and then be ready for Manchester City. Like I'd rather have more depth in that game. But it's hard to say because we don't have like who's our other wingers.
And we still have Reyna, you still have Brandt, and you still have Royce. So the attacking three of that in
Those
that
three?
sense. Yeah, and then you have
Wolf.
I was about to say you have Hazard on the bench, but you don't
No,
anymore.
you don't. No.
You
So
know,
Wolf
JBG
is our other
either.
like attacker.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Unless he starts in.
But we're gonna wake up Saturday morning to Meunier.
Yeah, I was
being out
going
or
to say,
something.
yeah. But to a tweet from Stefan saying, this week, another entry for the injury crisis. Yeah, so it's insane. I also want to say,
Guerrero, put Guerrero up there. Have Rota.
yeah,
We didn't even mention we had quite a few Champions League debuts. Meyer was one. We did mention him. Rota had a debut. Bino Gittins was out.
no, Bino Gittins is his. Well, I mean, he.
No,
No, it's not. He denied.
There are a few.
Yeah. After Leipzig, I want to say also, I mean, every one of our next, including Leipzig, 9 games we have up in a row are all massively important. I was looking at our schedule and I was like, holy hell, every single game is like, none of them are like games we can switch off at all. So we have Leipzig, and then of course we have City,
Which is both
in the
away.
Champions League. Yeah, both away. Then you have Schalke. Then you have Cologne, which both obviously you have the derby, 2 derbies really. Then you have Sevilla in the Champions League. Then you have Bayern after that. Then you have Sevilla again. Then you have Union Berlin.
Who've been
And then
cruising.
after that, you have Pokal against Hannover. And it's like, God damn, for this next like month and a half minimum, you're going to have 2 games a week. And which kind of leads us into like one of the Twitter questions, of which people were just asking, like, how are we going to cope with the injuries? I think our biggest concern is going to be at the back and in the midfield more than the wingers, just because we have so many attackers. At some point in the next month, we're going to have 1 or 2 back. I'm not saying probably not even half of them are going to be back, but at least we get 1 or 2.
You would think we'll have Mullen and Adeyemi.
Yeah,
within the
or
next
one
week.
of those 2.
Yeah.
At the very least. And then you have 2 or so bench players ready to go. Wish you could have had 3 or 4 like we were supposed to have, but if I'm Terzic and I'm looking at just the bare squad right now and some of those positions like center backs and midfield, I'm gonna probably, if I were him, I would sit Chan down and say, hey, if you want to be here, which it looks like right now he doesn't, which is frustrating as hell, and it's probably because his lack of playing time, then you need to earn your spot. This is your opportunity to go and actually make an impact. You've been sitting and you've been seeing how you could impact the game, and when you came on, you've been pretty poor, but now you have the opportunity to learn from those mistakes and actually go out and try to improve on yourself. Because again, after Ozcan, we don't really have anyone else in the defensive midfielder right now. And at the center backs, I mean, you probably slip Chan in that same role. I don't really feel like we're going to play Koulibaly right now with the run of games we have coming
but
up.
luckily, Hummels has been playing well.
Yeah, really well.
And
really
now
well.
that Sule is full fitness, we have some center back options. So that's I'm not concerned there yet. Of course, we can get one injury and then that can be a problem.
Yep.
But it is good to have the depth there. Like you said, Chan can play there. But yeah.
But everywhere else, I think we're okay. I mean, it's the circumstances. There's not really much else you could do at the moment. I know some people are like kind of calling like for Anning to come up for potentially play like on the left somewhere. Not in this stretch of games. Again, these next 9 are so important, and they're all going to be so difficult too.
We don't need Anning. Like we saw some really good stuff from him in preseason, but we also mentioned the dude is so small.
Yeah.
And like we've seen Rota. Rota's gotten some time here and there, and we saw him in the Champions League last season against Bayern. So that he's our depth. Like we don't what is Anning going to bring that Rota can't? I think in this.
I mean, Anning could bring a lot that Rota doesn't have, but there's a lot of things that Rota has that Anning doesn't have. You know what I mean? That we need for our team right now, which I think could be size at the back and helping more of the defensive end. I don't think Anning is a defender much at all. He's more like a Guerrero who we just kind of put at left back. You know,
put him up on the wing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to maybe that, and we don't have any other wingers, but I'd rather play him, I guess, in attack than I do anywhere in our defense.
Yeah, we do have. I wasn't really thinking, just thinking wingers in depth. Like Moukoko kind of gives us that option too, which is good. We have him. But yeah, man, it's scary. Hopefully, we start to get some guys back. Do you want to do a quick prediction for Manchester City? Did you watch their game against Sevilla? Like, any thoughts?
I didn't watch it. I know Haaland just continues to prove everyone wrong outside of Dortmund fans. Who knew that Haaland was actually a good striker? Wow, that's crazy. It's almost like he's been proving this for years now. And anyway,
I heard so much on like different podcasts, and I have like what is it in my car? I have like satellite, so it's like Sirius XM FC, their soccer, and like I'll catch stuff on there occasionally. And I just remember hearing this guy going on and on and on. I have no idea who it was. I don't really care. But he was just on and on and on about, you can't guarantee that Haaland's going to come in and start banging goals. Well, guess what? You can now.
Yeah,
he did it very quickly.
You can basically guarantee.
Yeah, he's killing it, and that's going to be. I think Schlotterbeck, and I have faith in Schlotterbeck. Like I just think they're such a strong team. It's going to be a really difficult game. I'm going to be interested. I don't know how we're going to set up and try to play, because I don't know if just trying to be free-flowing attack is the answer. And I guess that's back to earlier when I was talking about, can we counter? Can we work on our counters a little more? That's kind of how you have to beat them or get a result against them. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, City's not going to be a team that really sits low and does those kind of a counterattacks or anything like that. But I do think Schlotterbeck can do a pretty decent job of keeping Haaland at least relatively quiet. I know I mentioned already, was it like 2 weeks or so back, that I feel like Haaland might net one out of the 2 meetings we have with City. But it's just a matter of just minimalizing him as much as you can. And we know his strengths and weaknesses in Haaland. So I think that could be something that for us to just really study and keep in mind.
Maybe that'll be our surprise injury this week, is Haaland's out. We've had that a lot of times.
Yeah,
with Haaland being
out. The curse doesn't leave ex-players. It kind of just flows with them. Also,
Akanji got a start in their UCL.
I did see that as well. Yeah.
First UCL game. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. They're such a strong. They're nuts. They've got a couple draws in Premier League. I've been watching them a lot, and mainly, like, I think I've said it before, like, I hate City. I have no attachment to them, but I'm still a big Haaland fan, and I just want to watch him. Like, I want to see what he does, and they've just been so good. So that's going to be a really tough one. I'm going to be I don't want to sound negative, but my optimism is like a 1-1 draw. I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's probably going to be, it's me being very optimistic too. Excuse me. I can imagine almost like a 2-0 though, loss to City, since we're away as well. And in this kind of a group, that's just kind of the games you got to go and just try to punch up.
Yeah. And watching Sevilla, granted they're playing City, so they're, who knows, but they have not had a great season so far. It's still early, but they have not doing that great. They got battered 4-0 by City. Again, that's City. Like, that's, so there might play a little different stylistically than when we play them. But I think we should have no problem. Like, I think we should be able to get second in this group easy. I think it should. I
don't know if it's going to be easy. Sevilla, are just, I don't know. They're a bunch of and when I almost said the C word.
We're not British. You can't say that.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, they could be so tough to break down and everything, and they know exactly how to get under everyone's skin. And they're full of players that are just ready to go down and do the dirty work and put that grit in. I mean, it's exactly why they bought a player like Thomas Delaney. Yeah,
there's so many Dortmund players on the field in that last game.
I know.
City and Sevilla. Yeah. All right. Was there any other? I know the big Twitter questions we got a lot was the injuries, how we're going to manage injuries. So we touched on that throughout the episode. Is there any other ones we want to hit on before?
Yeah, all of them, most of them that just kind of did wrap around that. I know we had another one asking if Gio was looking pretty good. I touched on him already, but I think he's been looking very solid for him coming back from being gone for I don't know how damn long now. And if he stays healthy this next month or two, it's going to be huge for the U.S. too, going into the World Cup, which I'm excited to get into those episodes too, and come November.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And yeah, these next few weeks hopefully are awesome for Dortmund. That's not being a pessimist. It's just going to be, we have a really tough stretch ahead of us. So it's gonna be a good time. So we really appreciate you hanging out and listening. Real quick, again, we're away to RB Leipzig this Saturday. Kickoff is 9:30 Eastern time on ESPN Plus. The next Wednesday at Manchester City. That kickoff is 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you want to connect with us, if you want to, like, of course, we're doing Twitter questions. So if you want to connect with us throughout the games, we've been tweeting. We always tweet leading up, like, throughout the week during the games. Sometimes Carver and I are both tweeting during the game, and when we score, we both put out a very similar tweet, which is always funny to see, like literally 6 seconds apart. So it's always fun when we're both at it. And then, Twitter and Instagram at the BVB Podcast. You can reach out on email to the BVB Podcast or the BVBpod at gmail.com. And we have a website where you can find literally everything. The BVB, when I have to say it so many times,
it becomes just like a tongue twister.
All the time. I think I'd be better at it by now. The BVBpodcast.com. So that's it. My name's Jake. Carver has been hanging with me as always. Thank you so much, and we will see you later.
See ya.